Hi, everyone. Welcome to Global Consciousness Summit. I'm Marla Goldberg, and I'm here with my co-host, Mike Cavalli, and today our guest is Jodi Suson, and the topic is removing interferences to bring inner peace. Jodi was misdiagnosed and over-medicated for over 20 years after her body shut down, and she nearly died in 2013. She chose a new path to reclaim her health. Jodi reversed 19 medical conditions using plant and energy-based healing, allowing her to release stress and sustain inner peace. Welcome, Jodi. Hi, Mike.
Welcome.
Hi. Thank you for
Well,
having me.
We're so happy to have you here.
yeah. Going to be an interesting hour, that's for sure. Well, I'd like to kick this off and just go back to a part of the introduction that Marla gave there. And your story begins in '96, where you had a fall. And as a consequence, you were misdiagnosed with this fall. And then this set off a whole set of series. So could you just give us the background there for this that led you to where you are now?
So absolutely. So yeah, I was working. I fell in the parking lot. It was a snowy day, kind of like today, which is really odd. It's snowing in spring, but okay.
It is Chicago.
It is Chicago. Thank you. You never know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates, right?
Exactly.
So I fell down in the snow and I tore my rotator cuff. And no one ever did an MRI or any type of X-ray or anything. And they sent me to a physical therapist, and they said the pain was all in my head and I should go see a psychiatrist. I had low self-esteem, and so I did exactly what she told me to do. Now, I want to tell you, and this is getting way ahead of the game, the pain is all in your head, but that's not what she was talking about. I'm going to tell you now. Okay. Because the brain controls everything. But so that led to me being put on, 3 medications. And over the course of all those years, they put me on a variety of medical trials, added a medication, and never removed any of the medications when a trial didn't work. So by 2007, I was on 17 medications and my body's shutting down. So I'm just going to be transparent and raw. So I would wake up in the morning after sleeping, cold and wet because I had peed in bed. Didn't even know. You don't even wake up. And the reason is, and this is really the important part, all those medications turned a switch off in my brain. So now my brain's not telling my body what to do. And so I learned very quickly in 2000, not that quick, because it was like a long time, right? When I learned quick. Just saying. So I think it was 2013, I went on disability at the end in December. And at the beginning of 2014, that's when I learned that the synthetic medication was turning off all the things in my brain that made the rest of my body work. And that's where I had a huge shift in my thinking.
So who told you, did you realize this on your own? Did you go to somebody new and they said, oh my God, I can't believe you're on all these medications, blah, 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 and filled you in with this information that everything was shutting down because of it? Where did you get the epiphany, the information?
Well, the first thing was when I had to apply for disability, the lawyer suggested that that I should find a different type of doctor. I mean, I'm 50 years old at the time. This is only 6 years ago, right? And I said, well, why would I get a new doctor? I've been with him for 19 years. He loves me. And he goes, okay. He said, well, he may love you. He said, but he may like you. And he said, but your health has declined under his care. And that was one wake-up call. The second wake-up call, I was going to grad school. I decided to enroll in grad school. So it was, a few hours a week. And my professor, Steve Rudnick, said in class, and this is business analytics, because if somebody gives you the mean, but they don't give you the median or the mode, you need to ask why. I'm sitting in class and both hands have braces on them. And they had braces on them because I had just had injections in every single digit and my wrist. Mind you, I had like probably 18 or 19 different conditions. One was carpal tunnel, I had trigger fingers, and I was just a walking guinea pig for the medical community, Western medical community. And I thought to myself, oh yeah, I need to start asking the hard questions, because I'm just letting people do things. I'm not asking questions. I need to be a critical thinker. And I had to become more self-aware. It was about me changing, not anybody else. The third thing that came to my attention, and these are the three main things that shifted my thought process. A girlfriend of mine who I worked with for many years called me up and she said, hey, Jodi, did you know that the medication that you're on, I'm not going to name the medication, has fluoride in it?
Huh.
And I said, no. She goes, yeah, your medication's black boxed. And fluoride, which the audience may or may not know, is a neurotoxin. So if you're consuming a neurotoxin for 20 years, every single day, and also putting it in your mouth for drinking water and your toothpaste and everything else, then your nervous system, your brain isn't going to be able to communicate to the rest of your body. So those were my 3 wake-up calls.
Wow.
And they happened all within about 3 months.
Yeah. I think this is the one of the problems we face, is that we put our trust in the authority, whatever it is, the CDC or whoever. And yet, if we look at the back of toothpaste, it says, do not swallow. If so, consult, I don't know, what is it, the CDC?
Poison control.
Yeah. And we have this trust that we are being looked after. And of course, fluoride, as you know, originally was the component in rat poison.
Yes. 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 I post about that all the time.
Yeah. So you were taking 18 years, approximately 17 drugs with fluoride in them and God knows what else. There are no tests for 17 drugs interaction over an 18-year period. So did you just wake up and go, this just isn't on, this is not normal, I've got to do something here?
Well, yeah. So one of the symptoms I had was called periodic paralysis, and I couldn't move. So I would eat, and then I would be stuck laying flat wherever I was, couch, bed, whatever, for 15 to 20 minutes at a time. And I just want to show the audience a picture real quick so they kind of have a feel. So this picture right here, and I'll bring it a little bit closer. I was obese. I was 234 pounds.
And how tall?
And pardon me?
How tall?
5'4.5". Got to get
Okay.
the half inch in.
I understand.
Yeah. I'm vertically challenged.
Every little helps.
But I'm going to be marrying a tall man, so I'm good.
There you
Balances
go.
it all out. So I was sitting on the couch, and I don't watch TV. And one day, I turned on the TV and I saw something from, was it the National Safety Council? And they were talking about the opioid epidemic. And I was never on opiates, and thank God for that. But their answer to that was that they should have a computer system to avoid doctor shopping.
Right.
And it occurred to me that that wasn't the answer, because if you take candy away from a baby, you have to have a binky, right? So you have to have a replacement. And so just cutting people off would then just drive them to street drugs.
Right.
And it occurred to me at that moment that a couple of things. One, this was not how my life was going to end. That if I wanted to live, I was going to have to change everything up. And number three, once I did do that, I realized to help others, I was going to have to pave a path that they could follow easily. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So for me, I watched a movie, which anybody can download on any of the major, channels. A lot of times it's free or it's a buck. It's called That Sugar Film. And that sugar
film? I'm sorry?
Mm-hmm, that
Okay.
sugar film. And what it does, there's a man who has a really healthy diet, and he uses the standard American diet, SAD, and he gains a lot of weight, gets tested along the way, and sees how his liver is impaired, his heart is impaired, and all of his organs are impaired by following the standard American diet. And it outlines how much sugar is in, all of your soft drinks and things like that, and your processed foods. After watching that film, I went to my cabinet. I took all the processed foods out. This is who I am. I'm an activator. Okay? Pulled it all out. Took a picture and took it if it was unopened. I took it to the pantry, and if it was opened, I put it in the garbage can. And a lot of the stuff I returned to the grocery store too, because they know what they're selling. If they don't know what they're selling, somebody who purchased it knows what they're selling. And if they still don't know, we need to vote with our dollars and start taking a stand and making them aware that the choices that they're providing to our world need to be healthier than what they're doing today, because we deserve real health, and it's supposed to come from our food supply, not from pills.
I'm not sure what the law is in the States, but in the UK, the shops are under no obligation to know about their food. Right, and for example, I went into a health shop and bought some organic prunes, and I studied labeling, and it was quite okay. It said organic prunes on the front, clear, no problem. I have a habit of looking.
Good habit.
He's a researcher.
So I turned it over, and it says preserved in E621 or 628. In other words, monosodium glutamate. Now, they did everything correct. They said it was organic prunes, which it was. They didn't break the law by putting E621 on the back, and they didn't break the law by having to say, what is E621? So most people will just go, anyway, organic prunes, that'll do for me. And then they go off and they feel they're buying a lot of organic food. And in fact, it isn't. They wonder why they're getting ill.
Thank you.
So we've got a problem.
We do. And so I have a solution to that. And so, which was, a lot of times these ideas just come to me. I don't know really where from, you know what I mean? And so it was the end of 2018. I designed what's called the Functional Food Program. And I teach people how to navigate the grocery store. And you can, I teach them in person or I teach them online. It doesn't make a difference. And I teach them about the 70 different names for sugar.
70?
Mm-hmm. 70.
Yeah.
Right. Because, and I want to let you know, things are always changing, because what they're doing is they're getting certain things approved. And forgive me for not knowing the most recent, but high fructose corn syrup just became natural.
Yeah.
And it's not
It's
anywhere
not
near
natural,
natural.
though.
No.
Yeah.
But they just got it approved. So you can actually put on the label that it's natural.
Yeah. And of course, aspartame is now amino sweet.
Oh, new to me. Okay.
Amino sweet. That's interesting.
You know,
Yeah, and that's a
and it gives the
cancer-causing.
reflection. Yeah.
Oh, you
from-
just cut out. Yeah.
Well, wait, you cut out a second, Mike.
All right. I mean, there's the famous doctor. He's from down south somewhere, and he specializes in neurotoxins. And so he specializes in aspartame. And it was him that was discovering all the people blackouts. I think the military are banned from using aspartame when they fly these big jets because they're prone to blackout. But it is one of the most toxic elements, apparently. But they've called it this nice fluffy name now, amino sweet, because, you know, we reflect on amino acids and so on and so forth.
Well, and the right amino acids are really good for your body. So, you know, the food industry, well, there's different parts of the food industry, but some parts of the food industry really work hard at finding words that have people feel that they can trust what it is that they're buying. Yeah. And we as a community it's just an opinion, I feel that we've been too trusting, and we need to read, and we need to read between the lines as well.
You and I had a conversation about GMOs in food and how it affects each person's mind, their brain power, how they feel, their immune system. Yeah, and we had a really interesting conversation about that. So let's elaborate a little bit so that people can understand about GMOs in food and just how horrible they are to ingest, and under long periods of time, what tends to happen to us?
Great question. Thank you. So first of all, let me just say GMO is genetically modified organisms. So for those people who don't know. And so let's all think about this. It's genetically modified. It's created in a petri dish, right? Now, what we know is that the body doesn't know how to process synthetics. Yeah. So let's think about, I'm gonna just pick on women for a moment, because women have breasts, and women, that's fat, okay? So when we consume synthetics, the body doesn't know how to process it, and it stores it in your fat cells. So if you're a very thin woman, where's it going to go? It's got a couple places. It's going to go into your breast, and, you know, breast cancer, or it's going to go into your brain. Okay, Alzheimer's, dementia. And so if you're consuming genetically modified foods, consider the symptoms of brain fog, not being able to process. You're speaking, you have a thought, it doesn't come through simply. It just kind of stops and you pause. Or you've been asked by your spouse or your friend to do something, and you have a real pregnant pause, and you can't process. I want to tell you how common that is, and it's not normal. So if you're eating genetically modified foods, it stops your brain from processing. It stores the synthetics in your fat cells. Your fat cells, it'll accumulate over time to the point where you'll start having symptoms. The symptoms can include things like eczema. It could include things like allergies and congestion. It can include things,
Leaky gut.
leaky gut, cancer. And, you know, thank you for bringing up the leaky gut. Part of my program that I teach is how to heal the gut. And you can actually use food and supplements to heal your gut. It's not an overnight wonder, by the way. If you've been taking antibiotics ever, you have a leaky gut. If you've gone outside and you breathe in like some smog, you likely have leaky gut. If you've taken an aspirin or any pain reliever that's synthetic, you have a leaky gut. So it takes a good 9 months. And what I want you to know, and if you're cleaning the house with synthetic cleaners, you have a leaky gut.
Could you explain first, before you go on, what is a leaky gut for those who don't know what a leaky gut is?
Oh, that is a great question. So here's what it is. You eat food, it goes into your intestinal tract, right? And it goes into your stomach. A leaky gut is when you have little pinholes in your intestinal tract that are caused by consuming synthetics, and it makes little pinholes there. Now, maybe that shouldn't be a big deal, but I'm going to tell you that it is, okay? Because what happens now, you eat that apple or you eat a sandwich, and the food is going through those little pinholes in your gut into your bloodstream, causing inflammation. Not just inflammation for the moment, chronic inflammation that leads to disease, long-term disease. So it is critical that people learn how to, heal their gut. And the way to do that is to remove all the interferences from your environment that you can, and then to neutralize those when you get exposed unknowingly. Like if you go, an example, you go into a public washroom and they have an air freshener, which is about as toxic as you're going to get. And if you go in there, you can use specific oils to help neutralize the effects of the toxins that you are exposed to. And you take these oils responsibly, and
We're talking
you make
about
sure
essential oils, correct?
Oh yeah, essential
Sorry.
oils. So they're made from the plant, the bloodline of the plant. They're made from the bloodline of the plant. And you need to make sure they're not necessarily organic, but chemical free. And which is my platform about, removing chemicals from your environment.
And so what are some of the items that attribute to leaky gut?
So medications, synthetic foods, your genetically modified foods, especially, corn, wheat, soy.
Gluten.
Okay, gluten, right? Because gluten and gliadin are in your wheat. So if you're one of my clients is not gluten sensitive like I am, but they're gliadin sensitive, and gliadin is a key ingredient in gluten. So there's all these divisions.
Yeah.
You really have to pare down. Yeah. Does that answer the question about leaky gut, or is there more?
I think that answers the question. But we were talking about GMOs and how it affects, and we talked about leaky gut. I just didn't know. Everybody might not know what leaky gut really, truly is. And that's why I wanted the explanation for them.
So thank you. And one of the things that I should add to that is that how that showed up for me is I had hives. So my inflammation was so bad that I would eat something and I'd break out in hives. I still have scars on my body from the hives. So
well, I mean, you apparently you had over 130 sensitivities to food, and you done all these tests to reverse them. Perhaps you could explain that process. But were the sensitivities because it wasn't organic food and it was a build-up of toxic food stuff in the food?
So actually, no. I had let me do a small redirect. Yeah. So I had 135 different food and chemical sensitivities to organic food, clean food.
Right.
And in addition to that, I'm chemically sensitive to all the other stuff that we shouldn't be exposing ourselves to anyway.
Right.
So I'm like the canary in the coal mine. Okay.
Okay.
If I walk in and I'm not doing well, you want to not be there. So, just say.
So you said you've been working through some of these sensitivities. How are you doing that?
Yeah, that's really cool. So, so first of all, how I found out about the sensitivities is I do a test that measures inflammation, distinct from measuring exposure. Okay. So go ahead.
I'm sorry, you perform the test.
So I send out a phlebotomist. They do a blood draw. It's backed by a science company out of Florida. And then they run the test. They've been in business for a long time, and the most comprehensive test in the world. And again, it's measuring inflammation versus exposure. And let me make the distinction. Mike, what's your favorite food to eat?
Oh, where do I begin? I guess halloumi cheese at the moment.
Okay. So
I'm a vegetarian, trainee vegan. So I'm a vegetarian. Yeah.
Nice. I am actually moving that way. I love my vegetable. I'm actually growing mine in the background.
Right.
Okay. So cheese, let's say, is your favorite food.
Yeah.
And you say consume it 5 days a week, but and you're overexposed, but
Right.
it doesn't cause inflammation for your body. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But so if you're measuring exposure and you have cheese every day, but it doesn't cause inflammation, you should be able to continue eating the cheese.
Correct. Yeah.
If you ate broccoli every day and you're overexposed and it does cause inflammation for you, okay, you need to not eat the broccoli. Even though it's good for everybody else, it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of tests out there. Some offer exposure, some offer inflammation. And I'm telling the world, you don't care how often you're exposed to it. You want to know what it does when it interacts with your white blood cells. Okay. So there's that. Now, so I identified the foods. I've been doing this for 5 years. And what I found is the foods kept on rotating. So I got rid of the sensitivity, but then I had another 100 foods that I was now sensitive to. And that just seemed like insanity to me. And I was seeing a doctor. Mental health is really important. And my psychologist introduced me to a device that uses sound frequency to do a reset on the neural network, okay, of your brain. And look, energy healing is huge. And I'm so grateful. I've been exposed to so many different modalities. Actually, even in the last 2 weeks, learned about 3 more new modalities that does what I have done. And they're more streamlined. But what I did is I wore the headset just using sound frequency, and I ate my food. Like simple, like just that simple, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to do that and use it with wine because I have a huge sensitivity to wine. So,
well, I can help you with that. There's
grapes.
actually a supplement that you can use so I had a sensitivity to wine too. And there's a specific supplement that you can use for people who, there's an enzyme that's missing in our body. I'm still studying all this, but there's an enzyme that's missing in our body. And if you take the supplement, you won't have a reaction to the wine. So I was being coached by a nutritionist from the company I work with in Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's an answer for everything in nature.
All right,
that's
Jodi, we'll talk later.
But Jodi, does our body recalibrate? For example, last year I stopped drinking alcohol for about 4 months. For no reason. I just wanted to see if my work would improve more than anything else. And it did. But then I started to go back to having the odd beer here and there. And I can't handle it. I can have a tiny, tiny glass of beer or one small glass of wine. otherwise my body just it makes me feel yuck. So does our body recalibrate and say, we're not having this again?
You've cleaned us
So
up.
yeah, you cleaned up your body. It's not willing anymore.
Yeah.
You probably feel worse now when you
Yeah.
But I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
So the beer and wine that you're drinking, is it organic or not? Oh, I froze.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I got you there. Is it organic? No, it's not.
Yeah.
Not organic. No.
So I would make a educated guess that you could have beer and wine if you had it that didn't have the chemical glyphosate in it.
Right.
And so if you can source your beer, which is really possible, especially in Europe, although Europe had the most glyphosate in their beer anywhere. There was a whole article on it. Or source your wine responsibly. Yeah. You can actually have it and your body probably won't react negatively. Right. I actually started drinking for the first time in 50 years.
Right.
You drank at 6 years old?
Well, so Sabbath. We had a little thing at wine, because it was actually, I was, born Jewish. We had Sabbath, and so we either had grape juice or a little bit of wine, and it would make me sick. So yeah. Yeah. Just saying.
So let's talk about these interferences and how it brings inner peace to us.
So thank you for asking. So here's I'm going to take you through a process. When you remove interferences, so the interferences include toxins, traumas, and thoughts. Okay, the 3 T's.
Yes.
So the toxins are in your food supply, your air supply, your water, your cleaning, your personal care items. You need to look at all of that. Don't try taking it on all in a day. You will make yourself a little nutty. Rome was never built in a day. So give yourself grace. I will just say that as you're doing this, if you choose to. So you remove the toxins. Traumas are if we sit funny or sleep funny and we wake up with a kink in our back, right? And the brain uses the spinal cord to communicate to every organ, tissue, and cell in your body. Okay? So if you sleep funny or you sit funny or you fall down or you get into a car accident and your spine is not aligned properly, your brain can't communicate to the rest of your organs, tissues, and cells. And so that's now considered another interference. So now we've talked about 2, toxins and traumas as interferences to how the body operates. And then there's your thoughts. It's really important to think healthy, positive thoughts. Yeah. And not let your fear drive your day. Don't let, so I always say, let your faith be bigger than your fear, right? So it's surrounding yourself with positive thoughts. I mean, when I was healing, I had this stuff all over the walls. I feel like I've healed a lot. I still have it all over the walls. Never done. Okay.
You can have too many positive thoughts or positive
never have
reminders.
Too many positive thoughts because, and maybe limit what kind of TV that you watch in the news. Look at those things. Look at the people. So that's 3 T's. So when you remove these 3 T's, toxins, traumas, and thoughts from your everyday environment, it's amazing how the negative energy that you once may have had or the anxiety and stress doesn't exist anymore. But you have to take stuff out and then put the right things in. So what you want to put in is like clean food. If you can grow your own food, that's always the best way to do it. Clean essential oils, which allow you, if you have pain, there's oils for pain. There's oils for stress. there's a specific oil, and I don't have it here, but we give people samples all the time, and it's called Peace. And it is amazing. And what it allows you to do is decompress and have serenity and calm. When I was starting on my journey, my ultimate goal was to get rid of all the anxiety. I was having panic attacks daily. Like, I had to pull over on the side of the road because I was, I couldn't breathe. So for me to have inner peace has always been, like, since I was disabled in 2013, was to be able to keep myself centered in spite of what was going on around me. So I recently, as of a year ago, created a concept called the Place of Peace. And I brought in several different modalities using energy-based healing, essential oils, and sound frequencies that help your body stay centered and decompressed within a few minutes, like under 10 minutes. The last man that I did it for, since, you know, we're in the middle of COVID-19, so we're not out, but I had done it for the CEO of this company out in North Carolina. And he said, Jodi, he goes, I feel like I'm walking on air. That's what happened after being, you know, in the place of peace for 8 minutes. When you can give that to somebody and show them what's possible, I think that's where the power is. Because if you can show people that you can take their cares away for a little bit, then they know that if they do all these other things, they can have their cares away for a long bit, right?
Yeah.
And so, so that all these things drove me to peace, because I was a hot mess. I had so much anxiety and stress, and I was misdiagnosed having, because of the stress and because of the pain, they said I had bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. Well, I didn't have that. I was an empath. I was pulling people's energy. I was eating genetically modified foods. I was eating a lot of sugar. I was a sugar addict. Well, spoiler alert, when you remove all those interferences, your body finds homeostasis, and you're balanced and you're centered, and life takes on a whole, like a whole new reality. And then it's interesting, but you're not willing to accept the old reality anymore. Like, once you get like how powerful peace is, the other stuff is not interesting to you. And you don't even pick up the dice anymore. So that's what happened to me.
Wow.
There's another phenomenon I think you can add to the list there of toxicity, and this is now this electromagnetic fog that we're absolutely being blasted with. I mean, the 5G signal is not confirmed for safety reasons. You know, if you just do a little bit of research, we know there's some issues there. How big a role is this electromagnetic fog playing, particularly on our nervous system and our brain?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. It's frying our brains. Think Alzheimer, pre-dementia. Think about, yeah, it's bad. So I want to tell you that we, in our home, we offer, you know, and we also offer it, but we have whole house neutralizers that neutralize the effects of EMF. We have it for our car. I have it on my phone. I have it on all my devices. because I'm very energy sensitive, as soon as I plugged it in, I could feel the energy lift out of my chest. Now, I'm an empath, so I'm very energy sensitive. Not everybody's going to have that immediate reaction.
Right.
But I have to tell you that it scares me. We're all using wired AirPods, right? I want to tell you something. I stop people when I'm walking on a path and they've got those earbuds that aren't hardwired. You want to think twice before putting Bluetooth by your ear. It's your brain.
Yeah.
It's your brain that you're frying literally every day. And the 5G is doing that. The 4G is doing that. The 3G is doing that. And if you take a look at any of the charts, Alzheimer's is on the rise. And actually there's a resource. It's a website called alzheimershasbeenreversed.org. And Alzheimer's has been reversed. And they're talking about the same thing that you guys and I have been talking about this whole time. Right. It's removing all the interferences, and the body has a unique ability to heal itself.
But isn't the Alzheimer's also from heavy metals? Doesn't heavy metals cause Alzheimer's?
Absolutely. And I've used cilantro to help remove heavy metals.
Yeah.
Cilantro essential oil, also activated charcoal. And I don't think that it gets rid of all the heavy metals, but it's pulled out enough for me. And there's testing, and I'm looking into what that is. But there are tests to actually help you measure the level of heavy metals in your body. But like, just for the layperson, if you want to get started, activated charcoal, cilantro essential oil in a veggie cap. I can't emphasize enough. You don't want to just be putting these under your tongue. But yeah, and and then about the plastics, just to move for a quick second, the plastics are also contributing to the Alzheimer's. So if you're drinking water out of a plastic bottle, consider getting a water filtration system instead. It's cheaper. And you save the planet, you save your body, and those microplastics aren't going into your intestinal tract, which, by the way, going back to leaky gut, are contributing to your leaky gut.
Yeah. It all goes like a cycle, like dominoes.
So if I could say this, whatever you believe in, God, higher power, whatever you want to, whoever it is that you believe in, and they just want to, go back to basics, right? Yeah. Raise your consciousness by going back to basics, because if you can remove all the toxicities in your life, I even got all wooden hangers, right? Because I don't want to breathe in the plastics. Yeah. It will allow you to connect with a higher power. Yeah. It'll allow you to hear the messages that God has for you, or the higher power has for you. And that's the purpose, besides having a healthy body. And, you want to have a healthy body. God gave, these are body bags, right? So when I say a healthy body, you don't have to be skinny mini. Okay. You just have to be healthy. And, we are spiritual beings inside this body bag. And, you don't want to really, I feel, you don't want to really give meaning to the body bag, but you do need to take care of the body bag so that you can walk the earth. So it's kind of like that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It's interesting hearing it called a body bag.
Well, because we don't want to, because here's the thing. If we give too much meaning to this body, then people can have body image issues. Sure. Right?
Which they do.
And it's not what defines us. Our bodies don't define us. Our souls define us. And so then if you just look at this, this is a body bag. God gave us this to walk the earth in so that we could interact and talk and, you know, and wear cool clothes. So, you know, that. Yeah. And, you know, and like, and don't make a deal. Like my body changes. So I've gained probably 20 pounds. Well, because I got exposed to black mold. Now I could make myself wrong for that. But why? It's a body bag. I'll fix the body bag. I know it takes a while. So, you know, I use my activated charcoal. I use my cilantro. I use my lemon. I have other more complicated things that I use to help, you know, boost my immune system and get rid of the toxins in my body. And then the weight falls off. You know, it's just that simple. And, so I don't worry about 20 pounds because I know how to get it right back down. I can't control, and you can't control, Marla, and Mike, you can't control what you get exposed to every day.
No.
You can be
So-
you can partially control it by what you bring into your home, by what you put in your cabinets, by what you put in your refrigerator. You do have control. Now, what we don't have control of are things we have no control of, like the pollution in the air. I mean, to a point, collaboratively, we have the ability to control it, but right here and now, we don't, because we're not in control of these major companies that are polluting the air, the cars that are going. And as we all know, this has turned around quite a bit since in the last 3 weeks, since very few people are driving, very few planes are flying, very few boats are going. So the damage is less, but when everything goes back to its cycle before this pandemic, all these things are going to start again unless something happens and people realize, like, wow, this is clean. Animals are reproducing. Smog is going away. Waters are getting cleaner. It's a commodity. What can we do to continue keeping it this way? How can we work together to keep things cleaner?
So thank you for that. This is just an opinion, no fact on this, but I think that this is a global reset.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think this is
it's unanimous. Yeah.
It's a global reset. And I pray literally every day that we can raise the consciousness of the universe. I was so grateful to meet you, Marla, and really, because when I connected with you and I started talking, I mean, I was like, wow, you know,
Thank you.
Yeah, because you get it. And Mike, I'm so excited. You know, we just met today, but you are so well informed, like amazing.
We call him the professor.
Oh, all day, right? So, and you know, I mean, and I just need to go back to this, Mike, because you just made such good points. I mean, things are not labeled, and when they are labeled, they're not necessarily labeled correctly. There's a whole organization dedicated to that called No Labels, or, you know, because either they're labeling it and not labeling it correctly, or using new terms, or
developing a new language is developing new terms. Yeah.
And so it's a lot of effort as a consumer to stay on top of that. And so, you know, let's simplify it. Don't buy processed foods. Just buy a whole food, or grow it in your house. You know,
Jodi, for example, if you go to the supermarket and buy a bottle of water in a plastic container, you see they're very clever with words. They'll say pH neutral at source. It doesn't tell you what the pH value is now that's in the bottle. And you know, people just we're our own worst enemies. They just read pH neutral or pH alkaline. Fine, great. They forget the rest of it, and the companies get away with it by our own complacency. So I think we've got to step up and say we're not accepting this, but we've got to get people to understand this. That's the hard point.
Well, Yeah,
Well,
and
there's two things.
people are lazy too. I'm sorry to put it that way, and I don't mean to offend, but there are people that are just very comfortable, taking in all the toxins, and they don't want to change it because they say it's like, oh my God, the taste changes. And I'll use my husband as an example. Gluten-free bread. He doesn't have his, which has got full of gluten and chemicals and everything. And it's like, here, try my bread. Oh God, I don't want to eat that cardboard. I don't happen to think it tastes like cardboard. But people have this notion in their head that it's going to change the taste of the food. And maybe it does, because we're not used to tasting clean food.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so my boyfriend is in a group, and one of the men in the group had said something about how he's so grateful for this COVID-19 because his daughter is living with him and his daughter's vegan. And he's learning to think twice about what he eats. And instead of having the chocolate cake, he's having a handful of almonds. And I said, well, okay, so that's really good, but what if he could have his cake too? And he looked at me kind of like perplexed. And I said, well, I make my cake out of almond flour and coconut oil and arrowroot and coconut flour and eggs. And so all of a sudden, and chocolate, which is properly sourced. So now, which chocolate has the highest antioxidants of anything on the planet. And then if the sugar is Mankato sugar or made from monk fruit, right? So now all of a sudden you have this chocolate cake and almonds. God, I have the chocolate cake. And by the way, it's going to be good for me. Now it's healthy. And so we were just fed two things. One, a lie that chocolate cake's not good for you. Chocolate cake made with wheat and processed sugar and processed foods are not good for you. My recipe, on the other hand, is pretty good. I'm just going to tell you. And what's really cool is down the street from where I live, there's a bakery that used to just sell direct. They were wholesale. And because of COVID-19, they're now going direct to consumer. And I'm like, yeehaw.
What bakery is this, if you don't mind my asking? Because it does, apparently they're gluten-free, organic.
Oh, they're gluten-free. Hold on. And, they're in Wakanda.
Okay.
And I don't remember the name because I just learned about him from my social media guy who's doing the marketing for them. And I apologize because I would love to give them a plug. But I can't remember the name of the bakery, but it's in Wakanda and I can't wait to try it. I mean, they look delicious.
That's the second part, right? People think that if it's organic, it doesn't look good. I mean, it's a mindset.
I remember it is a mindset. The very first time I tried, so I made a spaghetti sauce. So born Christian, and I am definitely a born again Italian. I make the best Italian food on the flipping planet. And anybody can challenge me. Now, I just say, no one can talk me right. But so I bought, I put in oregano essential oil in my spaghetti sauce. And you make it with all this fresh, organic vegetables. And I have never tasted anything so delicious in my entire life. I mean, it is good. And then I go down to the farm, I think this one's called Hasselman Farms. They have duck eggs. So breakfast is bacon and eggs. And these duck eggs are huge. And so, I mean, like, people, go organic because it's cheaper because you're buying Whole Foods. If you compare the price of your cereals that are processed, they're like $6 or $7 a box. Okay. And you buy a whole food, it's just cheaper. Yeah. You have to put a little labor in. Okay. Which means you're making your own food. So such a deal, not a big deal. Okay. you know, you can find things to do while whatever it is that's cooking. You can listen to a great podcast like ours. You can listen to some, you know, good books while you're cooking. You can use your time. You have to create a whole new reality. But food is your medicine. I mean, Hippocrates said, you know, the doctor of the future is, you know, going to only use food as your medicine to let the body heal itself. I mean, and I think that's where we're at. People are tired of being sick and tired. They want something different. Yeah. We're here to offer it.
It's so true. And when you eat something, like I only eat red apples, delicious apples, but I only eat them organically, because if you taste one that's organic and you taste one that's conventional, hands down, you'll never go back to conventional again. It's so much sweeter and so much yummier, in my opinion, than the conventional. And look, I'm not trying to cause a riot between conventional and organic. But from my experience, you know, the organic foods just have a sweeter taste. You can really taste what a strawberry tastes like. You can taste a blueberry. You could taste watermelon.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a difference between conventional watermelon and organic watermelon.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
Think back to when you were eating conventional. I recall it tasting almost metallic. And like Coke or Diet Coke, it comes out of a can. It has a metallic taste to it for me.
Yeah.
Tab used to have it. Tab used to taste metallic to me.
Mm-hmm.
But not
and
Diet
so,
Coke.
And now my food, like you said, it's robust. It's sweet. It's
Savory,
and
it's
really
sweet, but you taste what it is, what it's supposed to taste like.
And here's a really bad way to describe it. It's like it's food on steroids, which it's not steroids at all, people. Not steroids. But it's a great way to explain. It's a boost to your food taste, right? To your taste buds. That's what, like my taste buds were dancing. Like my taste buds were dancing. Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's what MSG does as well.
But it gives you headaches. It gives you all these other diarrhea. It gives you things nobody really wants.
No.
Yeah.
And it makes you want to eat more as well with it.
Well, so that's, Mike, thank you for reminding me. Okay. So when I was on all those medications and I went from being a bodybuilder, right? I was 125 pounds. I benched 185 in my, in the contest. So the brain doesn't turn off. So you're constantly hungry. And back when they created Dr. Pepper, you guys know Dr. Pepper.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So the founder of Dr. Pepper created a formula. It's called the Bliss Point. Have either of you heard about this?
No, not the Bliss Point. No.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So wait to hear about this. So it is the exact amount of sugar that you need to create an addiction, all right, to have you crave more.
Right.
So you drink, it's not too sweet, not too bitter. So you drink the Dr. Pepper and you want more. Well, it was such a perfect formula that he took that formula and sold it to every food manufacturer in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why we're where we're at today.
Yeah.
And then back in, I think it was like the 40s or 50s, there was this thing about who was the evil one, sugar or fat? And fat came out as evil. Well, we need fat for our brain health.
Yeah.
Sugar's evil. Sugar lights up 8 pleasure centers in your brain. What that feels like is if anybody's ever played pinball, it's like there's a pinball machine going on in your brain.
That's why you see kids going bing, 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 and then collapsing. Absolutely crashing.
Yeah. So you feel good for a little bit, boom. Okay. So so that's how this all started. Was we had the Bliss Point, that formula that was created by the founder of Dr. Pepper. He sells it to all these other companies. They use that formula. They create all these processed foods. They sell it to people. People are eating more than what they really need because it's the brain doesn't turn off and it keeps on craving more. It thinks it's hungry and you're not. You're full.
And it's true. And I have to tell you, at this point, we have to come to a conclusion because
It's okay.
it's such a good point, though. We're full. It's like
We
our
are
time is
full,
up.
and
This has been great content. It has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Jodi.
Yeah.
So grateful for you.
Likewise to both of you. I'll just say this. I manifest all the time, everything I want, the law of attraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just thank God for having him send both of you my way. Thank you.
Jodi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mike, thank you very much for being a part of this today with me and being my co-host. So grateful. And to you, the audience, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to this most important and topical conversation. And really, you'll find Jodi's information on our site. So look up Jodi and know that she can help you. So till the next interview, we send you love, we send you blessings, and we send you gratitude. Thank you.
Thanks.